Duh.
Joel Schumacher took his second and last stab at the Batman franchise with Batman and Robin in 1997. And ladies and gentlemen, these are going to be my thoughts. I'm Case Swope. Thank you for joining me. We're reviewing Batman and Robin today. Here's how this review is going to work. We are going to be talking about the good things about the movie and then the bad things about the movie. That's going to be a doozy, let me tell you. And then we're going to come together and we're going to give a rating on a scale from 1 to 10, okay? 1 being the sensation of stepping on a Lego brick. 10 being the greatest film I've ever seen. Citizen Kane, something like that, something really, really fantastic. So don't expect me to be going that high. But, ladies and gentlemen, we got Batman and Robin today. I will say, I'm talking a lot of crap about Batman and Robin. I'm actually not going to give it some type of die-hard, rip-to-shreds negative review because I find a lot of redeeming qualities in this film that makes me enjoy it quite a lot. So that being said, let's dive into some of those things first. So the first good thing I have to say, and this is going to be very controversial right off the bat, I know, but I actually really like the main cast of this film. George Clooney, Chris O'Donnell, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Uma Thurman, okay? Those four specifically. George Clooney, I think, is the most underrated and overhated Batman because George Clooney, he is naturally a very charismatic guy, right? And so you can say there's some problems with his Batman portrayal, what he does here and there, it doesn't seem all Batman-y or whatever. I will say, okay, I guess so, but have you seen his Bruce Wayne? Because I think George Clooney brings to the Bruce Wayne side of Batman what every actor should bring to the Bruce Wayne side of Batman, just because George Clooney kind of is that guy, generally speaking. And so I think he does that very, very well. So to be honest, he is not my least favorite Batman. That crown goes to Val Kilmer. Rest in peace, Val Kilmer. I think he's a great actor. I do not think he did a good job in Batman Forever. So in my opinion, Clooney trumps Kilmer. Again, that's just my opinion. If you got a problem with it, hey, leave a comment. I'd love to hear what you think. But moving on, Chris O'Donnell as Robin. Now, I know he's way too old to be Robin because, that's just kind of awkward. And I do agree with that, especially back in Batman Forever as well. I will say they really play loose with the idea of Robin in these two films because by the time we get to this movie, he's practically Nightwing because if you just look at how he acts, how his relationship with Batman is, he's not being mentored very much by him, and they're butting heads a lot in this film. I think Chris O'Donnell brings a really good take of that to the table. It is the 90s. It is kind of cheesy, kind of corny, but overall, I did not dislike his Robin or his character, so I think that was great. Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze, that I love, mainly because it's so bad it's good. And we'll be having a lot of things talking about that are just so bad they're good in this film, if you ask me. Overall, he was fun. He was a fun pick as the character. That's basically all I have to say why I like him so much. Because, yeah, it was fun. It was ridiculous. You can say all kinds of bad things about him as Mr. Freeze, but you can't say he's not fun. Uma Thurman, on the other hand, I think she's like a diamond in the rough with this film because her Poison Ivy is like a near perfect Poison Ivy, if you ask me. I know there's another YouTuber named The Infuso, who I've watched for a while now. I believe he's retiring after this year, which is very unfortunate, but he said something very similar. He really loves Poison Ivy. Definitely go check out his channel while you still can. But yeah, the Poison Ivy that we're seeing here that Uma Thurman gives us is basically, I think the most best comic accurate thing we see in this whole movie. I think that her role is very standout as well. So I enjoyed that. Another great performance. I also want to say another good thing. The basic suits that Batman and Robin wear in this film, other than the fact that they have the notorious bat nipples, I actually really like the designs because Batman, his suit looks a lot like the Val Kilmer suit, except it's fully black. There's no yellow on it at all. Something about that I like. I don't know what it is, but it just got like a very interesting style, interesting charm to it because we never really anywhere else that I can think of have ever seen that looking bat logo with the circle and everything with the bat in the middle. We've never seen that in all black. So I think that was really unique to see. I think it's a good idea that we have not actually seen executed in any other Batman property. So I do like seeing that. The Robin suit, is it comic accurate? By no means. It looks nothing like comics, but I really like the design. It feels heavily inspired by Nightwing. So the way I see it is if you take Nightwing and make it red. So it's almost like if you merge the Rebirth Nightwing outfit with the New 52 Nightwing outfit, you keep it all red, and you add a cape. You basically have the Robin suit in this film, plus bat nipples, but we don't need to talk about those anymore for now. But I really like how that looks, and like I said, I do feel like they're really playing Robin more like Nightwing in this film, if you ask me. Not just like Nightwing, of course, because he was more obscure at the time when this film came out, so I think they definitely wanted to keep him as Robin, but I do feel like the way he's portrayed feels like he's a little more on the Nightwing-ish side. Speaking of which, Chris O'Donnell's Robin, generally speaking, he feels like a bit of an amalgamation of both Dick Grayson and Jason Todd. Probably because Tim Drake would have just been coming on the scene when these films were coming out, so they probably did that to try to make both fans of the different Robins happy. But another thing about this movie that's very much overlooked, that I think is probably, story-wise, the best part of the film, is there's this big arc with Alfred in the movie. That's actually a really big deal, where Alfred is actually sick and he has McGregor syndrome, stage 1, okay, which is the same sickness that Nora Freeze has, okay, which is very, very interesting, and that all plays into the plot. But essentially, it's interesting because the same actor, I think his name is Michael Gow, I think is how you pronounce his name. Michael Gow played Alfred in all 4 of the Batman films, meaning Batman, Batman Returns, Batman Forever, Batman and Robin. He is one of the 2 people who sticks around for all 4 of them. It's both him and the actor that plays Commissioner Gordon. They are both in all 4 of the movies, which also, I mean, like I said in my Batman Forever video, they were all made to be one continuity initially. It was not until later that they decided to split things up, but those 2 actors the whole way through. So seeing Alfred going through this arc is very interesting and very good, and I think it's really the emotional core of this film, because we've seen Alfred for, like, this is the 4th movie we've seen him in, and he's always been there on the side. You know, we like Alfred, but seeing him actually, you know, like on what was believed to be his deathbed, because spoiler alert, he doesn't die, but it's still really sad because he's one of the only characters that we've seen in all 4 of these films, and he never really had much of the spotlight until this film, which I think is really, really good and is something that I think we need a little bit more of in Batman, generally speaking, because Alfred's an amazing character, and I really liked seeing what they did with him in this film. I thought the whole plot they did in the story with that was also fantastic. But also what was fantastic was the score of this film. If you've not seen my review for Batman Forever, you should, because I'll be referring to that probably quite a bit since they're both the Joel Schumacher Batman movies. But I actually put the link to the movie right here in the iCard for your convenience. So go pause this, go check out that video, come back here, and then everything I'm saying should hopefully make a lot more sense to you. In the meantime, the score is very similar to the Batman Forever score. It uses a lot of the same themes, stuff like that. I mean, anything a good score in a movie series should do, it does. And for me, at least, this score is even more iconic than the Batman Forever score. But that might also be because I have a little bit of nostalgia bias for this film, because this is actually the 2nd Batman film I've ever seen. I was probably somewhere between the ages of like 6 and 9, I think, nice, where I saw this movie. I saw it actually on, like, I think it was Cartoon Network was playing it for some reason, and I watched it and I loved it. It was like the first exposure I got to any type of, and dare I say this, more serious Batman, I suppose. Now, I know that sounds absolutely ridiculous because this is like the least serious Batman movie since the 60s movie, but I digress because it is one of the things that got me into Batman so much. And so I got to give credit where credit is due. And even though there are a lot of things in this movie that we're about to get into, because we're going to talk about all the bad things here in just a little bit, there's just something about it that's just very charming to me. And again, so bad it's good situations where, yeah, this is terrible. This is a terrible idea, but it's laughably bad. And so I always have a good time watching the movie because I recognize how bad it is and I enjoy it for it. I think the best movies that are bad movies have to be laughably bad. If you have a boring bad movie, that is worse than a laughably bad movie. And so we'll talk more about that because that topic will come up in my rating, but we'll get to that toward the end. Let's talk about the bad things. So this is a bad thing. Everyone knows it's a bad thing. I agree it's a bad thing. Bat nipples. We talked about that already. Bat nipples are bad. And this movie is the most well-known Batman film to feature the bat nipples. And nobody likes them. I don't like them. You don't like them. Your neighbor doesn't like them. So again, it's so weird. It's so strange. I will talk about that much more because I did talk about it already in the Batman Forever review a little bit. So again, go check that out if you have not already. Another thing I talked about already that I'll bring up again is the dialogue. Also really bad in this film. It was really bad in Batman Forever. That has not changed. But speaking of dialogue, okay, this is another so bad it's a good thing. But Mr. Freeze and his monkey farming freeze puns. I love them because they're awful. They're so bad, and it is so funny how bad they are. I love them, but they're terrible. They're horrible. They're not great at all, and that's why I love them so much. So again, so bad it's good. I love that. But something that's not so bad it's good is Bane in this film, because now This was my first exposure to the character of Bane, so I don't have any major gripes with it, but I know diehard Batman fans have major gripes with Bane in this film, and I completely understand why, because when Bane was first introduced, it was during Nightfall, okay? He was this big, plotting, evil mastermind who literally broke Batman's back to the point where Batman couldn't Batman, so he had to get Azrael to be his replacement, okay? Which is insane, okay? That's something that no villain has been able to do up to that point in the comics. So bringing Bane in, making him just a meathead who just followed whatever Poison Ivy told him to do, I can totally see why that ticks off so many Batman fans. And if you're comparing the comics Bane to this Bane is absolute hot garbage. And so I understand that. Again, I don't personally hate this Bane that much, but I understand and empathize with all of the people who do. Now, something that I don't care for in this movie is Batgirl shows up. She's neither good nor bad, just kind of there in my opinion. But they change her origin story up a lot. She is Alfred's niece. So she is not Barbara Gordon. She's not the police commissioner's daughter. And I don't know, it feels kind of forgettable to me that Alicia Silverstone is Batgirl in this because the character just doesn't get much time to shine. And because they didn't go with their comic origins, I think a lot of people forget about that because all of her origin stuff is just said. And, you know, when you're making good films, right, it's better to show things than just say things. And so I think people forget about it because they're not shown stuff. They're just told stuff like, oh, you're Alfred's niece. You went to whatever Cambridge, I think, or whatever college and blah, blah, blah. And then she ends up doing motorcycle stuff. And that's kind of all we get. And just kind of a flat character, but also a origin story, new twist on it. That's not a bad idea in concept, but the execution is not done very well. And a major crime that is in this film that a lot of movies for this time, to be honest, suffered through is really bad gravity defying and flying effects where they're obviously using wires and they can't pull people and things very fast. So like there's a shot where Mr. Freeze takes a scientist or something like that at a museum or something. I don't remember what the guy was. Maybe it was a security guard. I don't know. I don't care. He tosses him up to hit his freeze gun off of a giant like dinosaur sculpture that's up there. And he throws him up and he just like floats up almost very slowly. And it just looks so stupid. So I hate that. I hate those effects. But they're also, again, like a so bad it's good type of thing. There's also a scene, too. I remember talking to a friend about this. Mr. Freeze is all like, what killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age. And then he freezes one of the dinosaur sculptures. It falls down. It smashes into the frozen ground, and then sparks fly everywhere. And I'm like, why the literal flippin' heck are there sparks in a museum covered in ice? It's like, why? It's so funny, though. It's so funny, but it also has you going like, why? Again, so bad it's good. So bad it's good. It's so bad. It's so terrible, and I love it for that. Also, this movie, I need to point this out. I mentioned for Batman Forever that movie is very campy, but with sauce. This movie has no sauce, and I feel like campy is not a good word to describe it. I'd prefer to use the word corny because it is. It's almost like this. It's almost like Batman Forever is Thor Ragnarok and Batman and Robin is Thor Love and Thunder, okay? I think that might be the greatest metaphor ever made up. Yeah, hopefully if you've seen those movies, you understand what I'm talking about, but that is really the vibe you get from both of those. I also have to shout out George Clooney because he did not do a separate Batman voice and a Bruce Wayne voice, so shame on you because that is something that really brings the character out, and I did not sense that at all, which is quite disappointing. Now, Mr. Freeze, I think, is the source of most of these so bad it's good things in this film. And the last one that I have to bring up, so bad it's good, is when he has his henchmen in his little snow cone lair place, right? And he has them singing the Freeze Miser song from A Year Without a Santa Claus, okay? That is so stupid that I just love it. I love how dumb it is.
I'm Mr. White Christmas. I'm Mr. Snow. I'm Mr. Icicle. I'm Mr. Ten Below.
Sing, sing!
Call me Snow Miser. Whatever I touch turns to snow in my clutch.
Come on, sing! Louder, come on, sing, sing, sing! Come on! Yes, come on, louder!
It's so bad. Again, so bad it's good. Like I say, so bad it's good. So bad it's good. But one point I have to make. This might be a nitpick, but I have to talk about it anyways. So what happens is Poison Ivy and Bane, they bust Mr. Freeze out of Arkham Asylum after he's been captured. They go back to save his wife. Freeze has to leave before he's able to save his wife. He gets the diamonds for his suit. And Poison Ivy does not save the wife because she wants leverage over Mr. Freeze. So she pulls her plug and tells Mr. Freeze that Batman and Robin did it, okay, to make him more mad at them. She's trying to play him, right? And she brings back the necklace that she was wearing, okay? And I'm thinking to myself, how is having the necklace confirmation that your wife is dead? Because it's not. I mean, like, I could just, like, steal the necklace off of her and then put her back in the thing. And then she ends up not being dead at the end, too. So it's really, it's like a paper-thin writing plot that was just done horribly bad. It's not good at all. Pretty terrible. Another nitpick I have, too, I gotta say. So, toward the end, they fight Poison Ivy first, okay? They go and confront Poison Ivy, and what happens is she ends up throwing Robin into this pond with a bunch of, like, vines or whatever that are pulling him, trying to drown him. And there's a shot in the movie where his head comes up to almost, like, get air. And it's the same shot that they use when he's like getting up and out of the pond at the end of the battle when she's been defeated and they're no longer pulling him down to drown him. It's the same shot, but they bring it up just so his head comes up for a little bit and then they reverse the clip and he goes back down and you can tell. And it looks terrible. I think the only reason they did that is because they realized, oh crap, he's been down there for way too long than a normal person could without breathing. So they just threw that in really quick as like a quick fix to make it be like, okay, he went up for air for a second and then gets pulled back down. It looks terrible though. It really does. And it sticks out like a sore thumb to me at least. So that's pretty awful. That's not great. That's not worth defending. So those are my thoughts on Batman and Robin. All the points I could put down that I could think of that are worth talking about. But to summarize everything, Batman and Robin, is it a good movie? By no means at all. However, I still have a really good time with this movie and I still really enjoy watching it. So I'm going to controversially give this movie a 5 out of 10, which, don't get me wrong, is not a very good rating, but is still a higher rating than I gave Batman Forever, which I give a 4 out of 10. And the reason why has to do with something that I said earlier in this review, which is that a entertaining bad movie is more fun to watch than a boring bad movie. Batman Forever, in my opinion, is a boring bad movie. This movie is a fun, stupid, so bad it's good, laughable bad movie. And therefore, if I'm going back and rewatching these Batman movies, I have a much better time rewatching Batman and Robin than I do Batman Forever. That is why I scored these the way that I did. But let me know what you guys thought in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think about Batman and Robin. I think we can all agree it's bad. How bad is it, though? I guess is the real question, so let me know down there. If you liked the video, hey, drop a like. And if you want to see more videos just like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I, of course, reviewed all of the previous Batman movies, 1989 through this one here in 1997. So let me know what you think about those. I also plan on moving on and doing some Superman films very, very shortly, all building up to the new Superman movie getting ready to come out, the one that James Gunn's doing, which I am very, very excited for. But all of that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.